Welcome to the Who Knew podcast with Bruce Lubin. I'm Jennifer Boudneau, the editor of the Who Knew books. Today, we have special guest Kara Rota from the Clever Cookster podcast. But before I go on, if you've ever felt like you had to choose between getting new blinds or holding on to your life savings, those fears end now, thanks to SelectBlinds.com. Select Blinds won't gouge you like those big greedy blind corporations. Just check out the over 170,000 five-star reviews on their site. Shop today at SelectBlinds.com. Mention you heard about them on a podcast at checkout and get sample swatches. Absolutely free. So like I said, we have an exciting episode today with a special guest. But first, I wanted to bring you our pennyhoarder.com money saving hack. This week, it's about saving at one of my favorite stores, Target.
Hey everybody, it's Lisa from thepennyhoarder.com, and I'm here with today's money hack. Today I'm going to let you in on some insider secrets for saving at Target, one of our favorite stores at the Penny Hoarder. There's so many tips, it's hard to pick just a few to share. The easiest way to save is with the Target Red Card. It's a debit card that doesn't require a line of credit, and it earns you an extra 5% back on all your purchases at Target except for on prescription purchases. And download their Cartwheel app for even more savings. Browse the app to select discounts and scan your barcode at checkout. Also, it's a good idea to know your markdown tags to make sure you're getting the lowest sale price at Target. Prices ending in a .04 are as low as they'll go. So if you see a price like $9.04, that's the rock bottom. It's not going to get marked down. But if you see a price tag like .06 or .08, there's a chance for further markdown. I know, they're just small differences in numbers, but they can make a big difference. If those tips aren't enough, shop around. Target matches lower prices from their competitors in-store and online for up to 14 days after a purchase. Visit thepennyhoarder.com for more money hacks, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, Lisa. That's a great tip. I'm going to try that out. Well, as I'd said, today is a really exciting episode because not only do we have our usual life hack lightning round and penny hoarder tip and some great tips from Bruce, but we also have Kara Rota here. Kara is the host of the Clever Cookster podcast here on the Quick and Dirty Tips Network and also a cookbook editor. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kara.
Thank you so much for having me.
So today we're going to talk organization and disorganization, if you're me. In other words, how do you fix disorganization? And specifically with you, I wanted to talk to you about kitchens.
So this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart because I've lived in a lot of different New York City apartments. And as we know, the hallmark of New York City apartments is basically no kitchen space.
Yes, so that's like my Brooklyn apartment as well.
You have to get creative. Everything from the cabinets to the counters to the appliances, really making sure that every inch is doing double duty often.
Yes. And before we started, we were talking about appliances. And I personally have a portable dishwasher. And on top of that, I have stacked a microwave, which I have stacked on top of the microwave, a toaster oven, and then I have a rice cooker next to it. So I think that having a small kitchen, a lot of it is about stacking those appliances. But do you have any other rules for people and appliances in terms of like which to keep in their kitchen, which to keep in the cabinets? What is any rules of thumb that you have?
Well, you've already brought up something that I think is really important, which is using your vertical and your horizontal space. So basically, when you don't have counter space, you have to look at what you do have and often wall space.
Yeah.
So, putting a spice rack on the wall, putting built-in shelving onto the wall so that some of those things that you need to access maybe less frequently are still accessible. And then also storing things kind of in order of how often you use them.
Oh.
So I believe that the only things that should be on the counter are things that are both aesthetic and also functional and have practical everyday use. And the things that you're less likely to use can go kind of under in cabinets or a little bit further away, even in a different room. I actually have a whole bin of kitchen stuff that gets stored in my bedroom closet.
Oh, okay.
Just because, I only use the electric knife on Thanksgiving, so it doesn't really need to be in my kitchen.
So you're saying that, stack of junk mail and like random spice that I bought because it seemed cool and now it's just sitting on my counter should really be going elsewhere.
Also, look at what you have. I feel like so often I'll buy, a can of corn or a spice and put it in the cabinet and then buy the same thing again a few months later just because I forgot that I had it.
Yeah.
So go through your cabinets and drawers often, see what's there, get rid of things, Marie Kondo your whole life all the time.
Do you have any, so my cabinets are basically arranged like, I have two walls walls of cabinets in my tiny kitchen. One wall is the wall that the cockroaches get into the cabinets all the time, and then the other wall is not. So I sort all of my organization by food in the wall that the roaches won't get in, and then everything else. Now, I imagine people who don't live in Brooklyn
are absolutely appalled by
they're
everything
absolutely appalled right now. Whereas you're nodding along. Yeah. But do you have any tips for people in terms of how to organize their cabinets if they're not doing it by the what's most likely to get infested by roaches method?
Well, the first thing I will say is that if you do have bug problems or other pest problems, seal your bags, keep them in airtight containers. You can't have open boxes of cereal.
And may I say, the Who Knew way would be also putting bay leaves around in your cabinets because the roaches will be repelled from bay leaves. But that is an entirely different podcast. Everyone.
But an important tip.
Yeah.
I forget what question you asked.
Oh, the organization of cabinets. Sure. So what do I do when I'm open my cabinet and I feel like everything just falls out on top of me?
So this is a little bit counterintuitive, but I think this is one of those situations where you need to spend space to make space. So things like drawer organizers, things like bins that fit inside your cabinets that can actually separate out the space in different ways makes it a lot easier to keep track of what you have.
Interesting.
So rather than having the tea boxes and the cans and the spices kind of all mixed together, create separate spaces within your cabinets and your drawers that are for different kinds of items. So then it's easier to kind of keep things organized and know what's there.
I like this. So it's not so much of a free-for-all where I'm trying to find... I like that idea, too, because I think it would help me realize when I haven't used things. A lot of times in my cabinets, I'm like, I had pasta in here this whole time, and I didn't realize,
For sure.
So I like that. If I had a pasta area, then I'd be able to see whether or not I had
you have
used
6
the
half-empty boxes of pasta.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think also just, thinking about expiration dates and how long do we really need to keep food around in our kitchen. Spices do go bad. I've taken a lot of spices with me moving apartments because they take a long time to go bad and, you really only use them a little bit at a time. But at least every few months, check your expiration dates. Make sure you're not keeping things around that are kind of stale and musty and not actually adding flavor.
And one thing you can do if you're afraid that your spices are going to go bad more quickly than you can use them is you can put them in smaller containers because, of course, it's the air that makes them go bad. So if you have, you've bought like a big thing of garlic powder and you're like, oh, wait, I'm not going to use this quick enough, then put it into separate containers and then you'll have containers of the garlic powder that you've never opened, have never been exposed to air when you use through the first little container that you parsed it out into. So any last tips or ideas for kitchen organization while I have you here?
The one thing I want to highlight, especially if you have a small kitchen, is just to keep the things visible and accessible that make you happy, that you're glad that you own. So, cabinets don't have to be used for all of your plates and cups. If you have, beautiful glassware or dishware that you want to display, that's something great that you could even repurpose a bookshelf near your kitchen or have them kind of out more in the open so you can enjoy them, put fruit in a beautiful bowl on the counter. And those are all things that then don't need to take up cabinet space. And you also have the added benefit of enjoying them in your daily life.
Wonderful. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. Make sure to check out Kara's podcast, The Clever Cookster. And if you go back and find her episode on holiday drinks, you can even find when I appeared on Kara's podcast myself with my book, Dangerous Cocktails. So
and the cocktails themselves.
Yes, and we drank some cocktails. It was a good time. So that was Kara, the host of the Clever Cookster podcast. And now on to some tips with Bruce. But before we go on, a bit more about our sponsor, Select Blinds. You don't have to choose between saving money and updating your window treatments anymore. SelectBlinds.com has got you covered, and their loyal customers seem to agree. Just check out the more than 170,000 five-star reviews on their site. At SelectBlinds.com, you can choose from a selection of high-quality custom blinds, shades, and drapes. It's the simple and smart way to get blinds. Select Blinds makes it easy to do it yourself, without going it alone. Measure, choose, and install your own new window coverings with the support of their online specialists. If you can hang a picture, you can hang your own blinds. They've served over 1 million happy customers. Why not be one of them? Shop today at SelectBlinds.com. Mention you heard about them on a podcast at checkout and get sample swatches of the room darkening blinds or shades of your choice. Absolutely free. That's SelectBlinds.com. So you have for us today a couple of tips for repurposing household objects to use as organizational items. So tell me about some of these.
Well, one of them is like everyone has those shoe racks that hang over the back of their doors.
Yes.
And they're great, but you don't have to just use them for shoes. I use them for all my garden equipment, right?
Oh.
So I have them out.
Yeah, they're just like little pockets.
Yeah,
a bunch of little pockets.
If you have, a basement or something, you can just tack it onto a wall. You can put all your gardening equipment in there. It's really a great way to get stuff off of the ground. Right?
I have a friend who uses it in her spice cabinet. She has actually like a closet, sort of a spice closet. So she uses that and she sticks all of them in there like that. And then I've always thought about, but have never actually done it, using it in the bathroom. Because I have all this stuff under my sink. It's getting to be time.
No, I would do that too. The other thing, like speaking of shoes, is I don't even use those containers for shoes, those holders. I use old wine cartons, which we only have by the dozen in our house. And what you do is they really fit, your shoes really fit in a case of wine. Yeah. The box.
And it's good for off-season shoes, I think. You stick all your off-season shoes in there.
And then, so it really, really makes sense, and it's really simple. Another thing, just for organization, is when you're washing your sheets, if you have more than one set of sheets and they always get sort of mixed up, just always store them in the pillowcase of the set.
That's a great idea.
So you've got your little pillowcase and everything's right in there. It's like one
Find everything in your linen closet.
It's all good, right?
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Yep.
Any other last little tips?
One last one is we all have plastic bags, right, that we use for however many things you get to the store. Store them in an old tissue box and keep them so the handles are out. Then put the next one through the handle and the next one through the handle.
Oh.
Push them in. And anytime you want one, you just pull the first one out.
It's a good idea because they're one of those things, like I have a cabinet of them and they'll fill the whole cabinet if you don't scrunch them down.
You can scrunch
them down. So I never thought of that, a Kleenex
box. And it's really, really simple. So
that's a good idea. So I guess it's time for our life hack lightning round
let's go.
already. Yeah. So so each week Jeannie writes down an object and then Bruce and I have to come up with as many tips as we can involving that object, and the last person to think of a tip wins. I have not been on a good winning streak lately.
Well,
but maybe it's time to turn that around. What's our object
today? If your luck changes with olive oil.
Ooh, olive oil is a good one.
I'll go first,
okay.
So you can have last licks here. So one thing you want to do is olive oil is great to store your razors in.
Oh, this is a classic Who Knew tip.
Indeed it is, because what happens with razors is they're really expensive and people think they're getting dull. What they're really doing is rusting. So if you keep them in olive oil, they won't rust and they will last. I mean, my razors last, I would say 6 months.
That's a great
razor blade.
Yeah,
that's really good. Also, you can use it to shave. While we're talking about it, you can just use it instead of shaving cream. It's
just take your razor out of the oil and use it.
It'll work. Yep.
All right, so my use for olive oil is if you're putting candles in candle holders, put a little olive oil on the bottom first. It'll make it really easy to get them into the candle holder. And also, if your candles drip, it'll make it really easy to peel the wax off of the candle holder if there's olive oil.
Good stuff. All right, I've got one. The very, very best furniture polish I've ever used for wooden furniture is 1/2 vinegar, 1/2 olive oil.
Yeah.
It is incredible. It'll restore furniture. It really
don't even
works.
bother buying something from the store.
Never. Don't
mix
buy it.
up your olive oil, and then if you want, you can add lemon to it too. But you don't have to do that. I have a good one. So olive oil is a really good makeup remover. This is a Who Knew tip that you and Jeannie got from a mime, as I seem to recall, or a clown. Exactly right. It was either a clown or a mime.
Who you calling
and she and she said, you just use olive oil as you would makeup remover, and it just comes right out.
It's also great if you've got duct tape on any sort of surface. A little olive oil will get rid of that. Also, any of those stickers when you buy glasses or anything that has a sticker that you can't remove, a little olive oil will just.
I have a health use. Olive oil is really good for headaches. They say if you eat a tablespoon of olive oil on the onset of a headache, now it'd probably be gross just to drink it. So mix it with pasta or something. And that's supposed to be better at fixing a headache than ibuprofen.
And very effective. Very effective, absolutely. Well, I think that...
You don't have any... Come on. You don't have a single other olive oil
The headache
tip?
one is so good, and I wish I had thought of it.
I have one more that I can think of off the top of my head.
Jen, pile on.
Which is if you have squeaky hinges, you can use olive oil instead of WD-40.
You definitely are the winner tonight.
No, you're just letting me win. But you know what? So. I love that you let me win. That's why you're a nice guy. You let me think I'm right, too, when you know I'm not. That's why we work well together.
That's exactly.
You've been trained well as a husband, haven't you? Well, thank you so much, Bruce, and we'll see you all next time. For these tips and more, visit quickanddirtytips.com/who knew, or you can find us on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, anywhere else you happen to be on your social media. Just search for Who Knew Tips, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye, everyone.